Over the past season, we did many stories about ordinary New Brunswickers doing extraordinary things, and NB Life became a show that was much more than even we expected. We found fascinating people doing things that we never imagined they would be doing. Take, for instance, our first story, the day that Kelly McGuire Curry visited Don Vale and found out that Don knew his way around and around a boa constrictor quite well.
When we think of buying a pet, most of us want something cute and furry. But what about this guy? Zeus is a 9-foot-long boa constrictor. He and his friend Harley share a home in Fredericton with many other creatures. Owner Don Vale feels that these creatures have gotten a bad rap.
As a matter of fact, the #1 animal in people's nightmares are snakes. That's a statistic. Yeah. And I suppose part of it is movies and books and things like that. And again, these movies and books are fictitious, and it's always a wise thing to remember that. And so they're sending the wrong type of message about things like this. And it's almost a cultural thing as well, because snakes are a symbol sometimes of evil.
But as with any pet, he says that owning a snake is not something to be taken lightly.
You need to look at what type of an animal it is, what are its needs, how can you adjust your lifestyle to the animal, because it's not the other way around. So also, all of those things need to be looked at. And another thing is with the so-called exotic pets like these guys and certain other types of beasts, there are all sorts of issues with respect to how they're obtained, where they come from, what the conditions are that they're kept in while they're going from place to place. And these can sometimes fall under a variety of national, regional, or international regulations. So all of that needs to be looked at as well. If somebody asked me whether or not a snake is a good thing to have as a pet, I would say yes, but you'd have to really qualify that, because you really need to know what you're getting into.
And what do you feed these guys?
There's no such thing as Purina snake chow. These guys are predators. They feed primarily on rodents. That means rats or mice. So that's another thing you have to consider. Do you have a steady and reliable source of food? So
where would you get food for him?
You can get them at some of the pet stores carry them. There are people that we're acquainted with that breed rats and mice. We used to do it here ourselves, but since we've since got none of that. But we usually we'll get them from a buddy of ours that's breeding them. They're fed pre-killed animals. A lot of people ask me, well, do you feed them live? And I recommend against that, unless you have a situation where the animal is extremely difficult to feed, and that's the only way you can get them to eat.
If you're looking for someone to roll over and play tricks or offer undying loyalty, a snake is probably not your ideal pet.
If you want something furry to snuggle up on your lap, or something to run up and greet you at the door and get home at night, then this isn't going to happen with these fellas. They're just a different, they're not trainable in any way. I believe that they do recognize us through their sense of smell, which is probably one of the most keenest senses that they have. But as far as, you know, coming when they're called and things like that, well, I'm afraid that's not going to happen either. It's sort of, the analogy I make is that of a large dog. It's sort of similar in many respects. There are certain things you don't do with a big dog because they're large animals and they're capable of doing some damage. Same with these guys. So as long as you follow certain rules in terms of the handling and the feeding and that sort of a thing, there's absolutely no danger. There's no real reason to be afraid of them.
Well, if that's the case, why don't you let me hold, what do you call this guy?
This is Harley.
Okay, I'll hold Harley. If you'll get Zeus out of his, can you get him out? He looks pretty heavy.
Yeah, he's about 9 feet long. He weighs about 65 pounds. We can take all the paper with him.
You want to look over? Or?
No, just a second here. Harley, he's just on the go all the time. And that's common with the corns. They're quite active. These fellows are quite a bit more laid back. And the Panzer, the ball python, he's very similar to this in terms of temperament.
Oh, it's just amazing, eh?
We do it in...
I run down, it scared me.
He'll hiss, that's normal.
Okay.
And
Look at you.
the average is between 8 and 10 feet.
Oh,
and this one is 9 feet long. So.
Everyone's going to know I'm crazy. Okay. This is Kelly McGuire Curry reporting for NB Life. Should I take that again? It was a bit too nervous, wasn't it?
Try and get him organized.
This is Kelly McGuire Curry reporting for NB Life.